Hey, Omar. Good morning. Rob Cesternino. How are you?
Good. Hi. Nice. So nice to meet you, Rob. I've been listening since the beginning, and now you're talking to a big dumb idiot. So let's get to it.
Yes. Since the beginning of what? Since the beginning of the season?
Since Heroes versus Villains or Samoa, whichever one you started with.
Okay. All right. Well,
My
okay.
favorite interview of all time was Stacey Powell. Bring her
Okay.
back.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about that one day down the road. But Omar, what a pleasure it was to get to watch you play the game this season. I thought you had a masterful run. I'm shocked to be talking to you here today. You were a joy to watch in terms of your game and in the confessional. So just all of the praise to you and the job you did here in Survivor 42.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate its high praise from the king.
Okay. All right. Take it easy. All right. Omer, so could you just take us through your reaction to sort of processing what had happened to you, where it was Marianne, who you had been with since the beginning, who orchestrated your removal from the game?
Yeah, it was wild because what they didn't show is that Marianne and I formed our little Canada Goose alliance, and I said we were going to migrate to the final three together from very early on. But I did say I think very early when it was her Mariah, I was like Mariah's better short term, or sorry, long term. Marianne's better short term. So I knew that Marianne was the type of player. She's very clearly a super fan that had the potential to do something like this to me. But as the game went on, she wasn't getting a lot of traction as an outsider from the people on the inn, and I saved her at the Lydia vote, and I think I
You did.
also, my own insecurities made me feel like I wasn't that big of a threat. So I was like, she won't see me as a bigger threat than Jonathan or Mike. So like I think she would take me out, but not over them. But I
Hmm.
was very wrong. And kudos to her, because there was a point in time where she looked like she wasn't strategizing because she was like constipated, she was doubled over, not moving around, but she was using that, as a cover, and she was doing a lot of strategizing when I wasn't around. So
Hmm.
good for her. Like, I'm proud of her for what she did, because it's the game, and I would have done it if I were her too. So
Yeah. Did you consider at all not giving Mike the idol back after you had taken it from him in the last episode?
I'm glad you asked, because a lot of people were confused about why I did what I did, but I gave Mike the idol back because we had a very tight final three alliance with Lindsay from the Pizza Under the Stars reward. I just didn't fully trust Mike still, because he was withholding his information about the idol and stuff like that for a little bit longer than I think he should have. And our plan at Pizza Under the Stars was, hi, Jonathan, Drea. But then when it came to voting out Jonathan, Mr. Mike didn't want to do it. And I was like, okay, I don't believe a word you say anymore. But I thought if I could give him back the idol and then pull out this idol nullifier that he had no idea about. So I
Okay.
thought that I could get him out at 5 with a big move. And I wanted at that point in the game to know where the idol was, because I had the nullifier.
Where did an idol nullifier come from, Omar?
So after the fish reward in episode 4, there Jonathan was getting super annoyed with Lindsay and Marianne. He's like, "Let's go for a walk," and I was like, "Okay." And then we walked to the water well, and there was an advantage sitting right by the water well, and I've never moved faster than Jonathan in my life, except for that moment. And then it was an idol nullifier. We decided to keep it a secret from the girls, but when he found out I told Lindsay, that's really the domino that set the blind side in motion, because he told Mike turned on me, and Marianne turned on me, and it was just, they had their pitchforks coming for me.
Was there only an idol nullifier for you, for your group, because you had won the reward, or did all of the tribes potentially have an idol nullifier at their camp?
That was my understanding, that it was for the reward, but I did wonder if there were ones at other camps, but I think it was for the reward.
Okay. All right. Big curveball here from that dropped a bomb here on us, a live tribal. Okay.
It made me into Gollum, truly. Like, that was my
Hmm.
ring.
Okay. So we know Lindsay had the amulet idol that she could have played to save you.
Yeah.
Were you pushing for her to use it to keep you safe?
Yes. So after that challenge, you saw part of our conversation on the beach, and I asked Lindsay, I was like, it's the last time to play it. I think you should just play it on me, because why not? There's no reason not to necessarily. But on the rules of the advantage, it says it's non-transferable. So if she were to use it on me, she would have to use it. Whereas I wanted her to just give it to me to use myself. But she said if I make that big of a move in front of the whole group, then they're going to know that we're really tight and we had tried to be covert for so long. And so I think the worry was, we probably got ahead of ourselves of like, oh, we'll put ourselves as a duo in the final five, three people can turn on us and we're done, when maybe we should have just been more proactive and done it anyway. And my whole game was not to be pushy, so I didn't want to be like, you should definitely do that, because I felt like we could lose trust with each other. So, and I didn't think that I was in that much danger to do that, so I didn't push it.
Why did you feel like the perception of you changed so much after Drea went out of the game? From what we saw, Drea said, okay, Omar, you were the only one that knew my secret. Why did that blow up your game so much?
I actually think that the thing that really, I think there's three people that kind of independently decided to go after me at the same time. I think the first two people to decide to go after me were, well, the first person was Jonathan, when he found out that I told Lindsay about the nullifier, which was which was in response to Drea telling me about knowledge is power, because I wanted to work through all the scenarios of what we should do. And Jonathan was very astute to see that Lindsay and I had a conversation that maybe was longer than he would have liked. So he interrogated both of us separately. And I'm an idiot because I saw him take her side and I knew our stories were not going to match. And my own insecurity in life is avoidance. Like I avoid conflict. And I purposely did not, I was like, I'm just going to hope that's okay and not worry about it. But if I had cross-checked the story, I would have known that he knew that we lied to him and he wasn't on board. But when he found that out, he told Mike, and then Mike turned on me at that point. And that all happened before the reveal of what I did. And then Marianne, I think part of the reveal, plus seeing me physically give the idol back to Mike, because as soon as we got back to camp, Mike's like, I need the idol. Mm-hmm. And I was like, can you just chill for a sec? But I know I had to give him back there, and she saw that and it was over.
What would have happened if you just did not act on the information that Drea had revealed to you about having knowledge is power?
I think in hindsight, there was not a lot of time to figure out what to do when she told me. My first inclination was actually to keep her, and that's what Jonathan and I decided to do. But then Lindsay and Mike's relationship was closer, so she convinced me to kind of go the other way. But I think in hindsight, what I should have done was let her take the idol, but nullify her out of the game at that point, because I had it with me. I just wanted to save it for 5 because I didn't want to be a threat so early, but it was too fancy. Like I really got focused on final 5. That's my play, to let them know that I'm playing, because I thought that people would not know what I was doing because I was kind of covert. But it was too much. I lost flexibility, and that was the whole part of my game. And so I have no one to blame but myself.
Yeah. One of the things that we had heard in the exit interviews the last couple of weeks was that you and Hai and Drea were a thing and were working together. Yeah. How real was that in your mind? And why did you ultimately decide not to go with that group?
Yeah, I think, the queen herself, Kim Spradlin, said, you want options in the game.
You had them.
We got into, sorry?
You had them.
Oh yeah, I did have them. So I got into the merge, and like my whole plan was like, I have to be the mother hen to the Taku chicks, because they're like trying to kill themselves on the road by running onto the road. I'm trying to herd them together because they're all like kind of bickering and stuff like that. And so Taku was my loyalty going into the merge, but Hai and I bonded very closely on our love for animals. And I will say that I will say that I really considered going with that, but my goal was to like keep both options in the game as long as possible. But kind of as the merge started to play out, it was very clear that I had more control of Taku, and Hai was kind of running his own game. It started to get to the point where he would just kind of sit me down and tell me what to do. His plan was Drea, him and I as the final 3, Mike as number 4. And like, you're setting it up for you, not for me per se. And then at one point he brought in Marianne as number 5 and then just told me about it. He's like, oh, by the way, we have a 5th now. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I just felt like I had less control moving in that direction. Drea and I felt like our final 3 with Hai was more through Hai, like he was kind of the middleman, and we didn't have a lot of individual conversations strategically, at least. And it was kind of interesting because I felt that she gave up too much information in some ways, but in other ways really did not make me feel secure as an ally. So I was like, other people I feel will take me to the end, so I'll go with them.
And then how much was the Taku for an actual thing that we saw? Because we see that, 4 of you made it to the final 6, and it really wasn't clear just how much of the group was working together or there were just other targets.
It was very intentional, I would say. I think that, there was some conflict there was times when people got a bit squirrely, like right at the merge. I didn't even want Roxroy to flip back time because I was like, I'm safe and my 3 people are safe. But when he did, I was like, shoot, like I'm the only safe one and the 3 of them are really under a magnifying glass. And I think in that stressful moment, they kind of started to turn on each other. But I was like, no, mother hen says no, you're going to stick together. We're going to make it Lydia, and that's it. And going into the merge, our plan was that we had bonded so much in that week. I think losing Jackson and Mariah very quickly really supercharged our bond. And so we were like, we're going to not talk to each other for like the first few days. We just spread our tentacles out. We were all in different conversations. We would check in for 2 or 3 minutes here or there so that nobody would really know we were working together. And, by the time, and I was okay with anyone going that wasn't those 4. So when it's Chanel or Romeo, I was like, I don't really care, like whatever. And then it was kind of funny because by the time we got to this point, people were like, oh, isn't it weird that all 4 of you are still here? And I was like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, what a coincidence.
You talked about, a bunch of different groups that you were working with, but in your mind, what was the final 3 going to be for you if everything had gone according to plan? Lindsay and who else?
I think that for me, I was not really set on any particular plan, which was maybe part of the problem for me. I think I should have been more just locked in on making something happen instead of being so whatever, I would say. But my plan at that point was to kind of go to the final 4 with Lindsay, Marianne, and Romeo. And I, had a lot of personal loyalty to Lindsay and Marianne because we were so close throughout the whole game that I was like, I think if I can get to 4 and just let it play out the way it will, then, if Lindsay or Marianne go out there, that's fine. And I felt like I was in a situation where if I could make it that far, I would win if I made it to the end. And if I didn't win, it was because I probably wouldn't have won against anyone. And so then I would be okay with them winning, I guess, was my thought.
We haven't talked at all about Romeo in all of this. Is Romeo a bigger factor in what's going on than we're being led to believe in the episodes?
I think it's hard for me to say for sure because we all have our own perceptions. And, even watching Romeo's confessionals, he's clearly thinking a lot more than maybe people were giving him credit for. So I would say that he's probably misunderstood in some ways. I think in the moment, it felt very much like he wasn't doing that much. I think early on in the merge, he was very paranoid and I would try to calm him down as much as I could. But I think a lot of people did disregard him very early and I didn't want to do that. Like I tried to be nice to him and that worked for a while because he was quite loyal to me. And even they didn't really show it last night, but he really did not want to vote me out and had to basically be forced to do it. So it was, he and I had a good relationship game wise. I felt like he had a hard time opening up as a person. And so it was hard to really understand who he was because he was very guarded in that sense. But I think that the portrayal is fairly accurate from what I've seen.
So you had this amazing strategic run in the season, but then you capped it off in your final episode last night with a challenge victory. How meaningful was that for you to win a challenge before you were out of the game?
Yeah, I was never a challenge guy. I was like, who cares about the challenges? But part of it's I never thought I would win one. So actually to do something and be good at something you didn't expect to be good at, even earlier in the tribal challenges, other than the one where I almost drowned, I did do the puzzles and helped succeed for our tribe. So it really felt good. And almost making all the baskets, it was an unexpected journey for me that it really meant a lot that maybe it's not just about winning because I had one thing on my bucket list and that was to win. That was it. Okay. But then to have these, it felt good.
And real quick, what was the reaction from your niece after seeing the episode last night? Did you tell her it was coming?
I didn't tell her it was coming. She was a little bit embarrassed, but also very happy with it. And then my other niece was a little bit jealous, but my little niece didn't even need that advice because she's fearless anyways. She does whatever and she doesn't need coaching. So,
Well, Omar, real quick, anything else you want to make sure people know?
I just had a great time. It was the best experience of my life.
I get that. Yeah.
So wonderful to have everybody be so supportive, basically. And you and Nicole should adopt a pigeon.
Adopt a pigeon. I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could keep them. Okay.
it's not an option; it's a requirement.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. We could talk more about that. Ulmer, really hoping that we get the chance to talk some more in the
Yes.
future. All the best to you outside of Survivor, and congrats again on a really epic run here in this season.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take
All right.
care.
Take care. Bye.